I read your books, I did the year one challenge, and I started seeing some really good results. So I thought, well, let me call Legion and talk to them about online coaching because there's still something missing still. So I called and I just asked them just point blank. I was like, look, man, this is my situation. If I do what you tell me to do and I work out the way you tell me to work out and I eat what you tell me to eat and I don't lose anything, what happens? Because, I pay this money for the coaching class. And if nothing happens, what then? And he literally said, if you do what we tell you to do to the letter and nothing happens, then we should close our doors tomorrow. I said, all right, sign me up.
Hello. I am Mike Matthews, and this is Muscle for Life. Thank you for joining me today for a new episode where I interview a coaching client, a client of my one-on-one coaching service, or I guess you could say Legion's one-on-one coaching service, my sports nutrition company. And Shaun lost 35 pounds in 6 months. He lost 15% body fat, and that's absolute, not relative, meaning he reduced his body fat percentage by 15 points. And of course, he gained muscle, he gained strength, he improved his health, his mood, his energy, his relationship with food, his relationship with exercise. And just as important as all of that, Shaun also, for the first time, understood why he was getting results, why his diet was working, why his exercise routine was working. And the reason that is so important is, as you will hear in this episode, Shaun had success losing weight previously. He talks about Weight Watchers and he lost a lot of weight with that. But because he didn't know why it was working, it wasn't sustainable, it wasn't a lifestyle that he could stick to. And after he was done dieting, he would then regain all of the weight that he lost. And Shaun's not alone there, of course. That is a very common occurrence. It is more common than losing weight and keeping it off, unfortunately. And that is why my coaching service has always put a lot of emphasis on why, teaching our clients why we are telling them what to do, because with enough of the why, our clients eventually don't need us anymore, which is a good thing, because if they are going to change not just their body composition and their health, but change their lifestyle, and find a lifestyle that is going to allow them to not just achieve their immediate fitness goals, but to maintain those fitness goals, ideally for the rest of their life, they have to know why certain things work and why other things don't work. They have to understand the first principles. Take Weight Watchers, for example. They have to know that all that system is doing is helping them maintain a calorie deficit. And they have to know that that is just one of many ways of maintaining a calorie deficit. And that would, of course, apply to any other type of diet that helps somebody lose a significant amount of body fat. It's important to know that the only reason why that diet worked is it maintained a calorie deficit. So anyway, in this episode, you are going to hear from Shaun, his story about how he found me through my book, Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, and how he used that to get started in his fitness journey, which had him in the beginning at 270 pounds, a serious health scare, a heart issue. And from there, Shaun explains why he decided to sign up for my coaching service and how that helped him get even better results than he was getting on his own. Before we get started, how many calories should you eat to reach your fitness goals faster? What about your macros? What types of food should you eat, and how many meals should you eat every day? Well, I created a free 60-second diet quiz that'll answer those questions for you and others, including how much alcohol you should drink, whether you should eat more fatty fish to get enough omega-3 fatty acids, what supplements are worth taking and why, and more. To take the quiz and get your free personalized diet plan, go to muscleforlife.show/diet quiz, muscleforlife.show/diet quiz now. Answer the questions and learn what you need to do in the kitchen to lose fat, build muscle, and get healthy. Hey, Shaun, thanks for taking some time to come and talk to me and the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke a little briefly before we started this, but I just want to say again, it's not every day I get to speak to somebody that actually changed my life. So this is an absolute pleasure for me.
Well, again, I'm flattered and I'm looking forward to hearing the story. Usually, how I like to start these conversations is with a quick snapshot, maybe a before and after snapshot of the results that you have achieved in the, I think the time frame, because you're now into your next phase of coaching, but it's a 6 month time frame, right? And then let's rewind to the beginning and how you found me and found my work and what you were doing at that time, what was working, what was not, and we can move forward from there.
Yeah. So what ended up happening, I think 2021 is whenever I, started your program. So let me go before that to why I started it. So around 2021, I was about 270 pounds, maybe a little more. That's kind of the last time I weighed myself because it really didn't matter anymore. And I tried other things like Weight Watchers. I tried that. I'm not gonna lie, it did work kind of, but I didn't know why. I'm a statistics kind of guy. So if you tell me to do this, why am I doing this? So I can learn. I don't want to be, like stuck on your program because I don't know what this one point equates to. So, I would eat something that I thought was probably healthy, maybe like a protein bar or something like that. And the next thing I know, that's half my calories for the day. And I'm like, well, I thought that was healthy. Now I can't even eat the rest of the day, or I can only eat like an egg or something. So they just didn't work out for me. And I know it does work for some people, but for me, it just didn't work. So that was just another list of things that did not work for me.
And one of the problems with that is even if it works and that you achieve your weight loss goal, if you don't know why it worked, you're probably going to struggle to maintain your weight loss goal, which is the real goal is to maintain a healthy body composition for the rest of your life. And to be able to do that while also being able to enjoy your life, you really do need to know why. Why do we get fatter? Why do we get leaner? And what matters? What does not matter? What do we need to pay attention to? What do we not need to pay attention to? And so forth.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was getting that. Here's your calculator, that's on your app. Here's where you're supposed to be, for the day, and go. So walk around the grocery store, scanning, nope, scanning, nope, scanning, nope. Like, what the hell am I? I see how you lose weight with this because you can only eat like lettuce and an egg, and that's it. So yeah, I was like, this isn't working. Whatever. So I just kind of went back to what I was doing, eating Popeyes and eating ice cream, and living my best life. And then I got a health scare, and we had to call the ambulance because I thought I was having a heart attack, 270, 280. I'm only 5'7", so that's huge for my frame. They take my blood pressure and everything, and it was really high. They thought I was having a heart attack, so they took me to the hospital and blood test, and my cholesterol was through the roof. My blood pressure was crazy, so it wasn't a heart attack, thankfully. So I followed back up with my doctor, and he's an old school doc, and I really like him. And he just gets right to the point. He's like, "Why are you fat?" And I was like, I like ice cream. He's like, well, here's the deal. You got high blood pressure, you got high cholesterol, you have sleep apnea, because he sent me home with a sleep apnea test, and it was 78 events per hour, which it needs to be less than 5. So I basically was just choking all night. So I was like, all right, well, I got to do something. So, I tried Weight Watchers. That didn't work. I tried a couple other, things online. That didn't work. I did go to the gym, but I didn't know what I was doing there. I go get on the elliptical for an hour, probably wasn't doing much, just watching TV. While on the elliptical, maybe I would go use this machine or go use that machine. Probably the form was horrible, and I'll just leave. Or I go swim, or not swim in the pool. I kind of just floated around, and then get up and leave, and then chalk it up like I did a really good workout. I worked out, I swam, but in reality, I probably didn't really do much. So I was like, I really need to make a change here. So like in business, find somebody who's doing it and see how they're doing it. So I took that same thing with fitness. So I don't remember exactly how I came across you. Maybe it was Amazon, maybe it was YouTube or something, but I came across your book, your first one, Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, I think. And it was like, I think like 300 pages. It was a big one. And so I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do my best as far as eating goes. I'm not going to lift any weights until I read this because I don't want to hurt myself. So I got your audiobook, and I just started walking. So I just was trying to get 10,000 steps a day, and I would just listen to your audiobook as I'm just wandering around the streets. And it started making sense to me. It was like 1.5 to or 1.25 to 1.5 grams of protein per lean body mass. That stuff was like, whoa, 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 statistics. I like statistics, so it started making sense to me. So then I started carrying like a little notebook with me, and, I'd start writing things down, and, I started getting really, really into it. And, so I read that book, or finished it. And then I got your year one challenge. And this is about the time the pandemic hit or was going on or something, somewhere around that time frame. So I started accumulating gym equipment at home, and I, just built a gym at home based off of the core exercises. Can I bench? Can I squat? Can I Roman deadlift? Can I deadlift? And then I would, get like adjustable dumbbells, and I just, progressively started accumulating more stuff. And then I just started doing your year one challenge, and I started losing some weight, not a lot, but I started getting stronger though. So I just thought, okay, well, there's something to this, because your thing was like 4 to 6 reps, for a lot of stuff. I'm doing like 15 to 20 reps, because that's just what I thought I was supposed to do. So then I seen yours, which is like, 4 to 6 reps. When you hit 6, add a couple of pounds, see if you can do 6 again. If you can, then, keep going until you find your new rep range. So I was like, well, that sounds almost too easy, just 4 to 6 reps as opposed to 15 reps. And then, I thought I was supposed to do like an hour and a half of cardio every single day. And it's like, no, like my coach right now, shout out to Coach Corey. He got me doing an hour of cardio a week, and he doesn't care what I do. He's like, do your bike, because I got a Peloton also, do your bike. I got a rowing machine, do your rowing machine. So, I just do whatever. Sometimes I do like 15 on the rowing machine that day, maybe 30 minutes a couple days later. Maybe one day I'll just do an hour on the bike and call it good for the week. It doesn't matter. It all seems to be working. So I read your books. I did the year one challenge, and I started seeing some really good results. So I thought, well, let me call Legion and talk to him about online coaching, because there's just something missing still. So I called and I talked to a gentleman. I think his name was Cody. He was a super cool guy. And, I was just talking to him. I was just straight with him, because I don't want to waste his time. I don't want to waste my time. And I just asked him, just point blank. I was like, look, man, this is my situation. If I do what you tell me to do, and I work out the way you tell me to work out, and I eat what you tell me to eat, and I don't lose anything, what happens? Because, I pay this money for the coaching class, and if nothing happens, what then? And he literally said, if you do what we tell you to do to the letter and nothing happens, then we should close our doors tomorrow. I said, all right, sign me up. And then I was like 240, 250 by this time. And then within 5 months, I was 190. And then, the last month I actually injured myself, so I kind of went on kind of like a maintenance for that last month, and then, a diet break, and then so on. But that's how I got started.
And how did your strength and how did your performance change over that period? So you're dropping a lot of weight, and then what were you seeing in your training?
Yeah, my training was going up fast, like as far as what I could bench, what I could deadlift, and everything like that. That was really going up fast, because I did exactly the way you guys told me to do. When I would get on that 6th rep, they're like, well, it's time to add, fives on here, and then I could only do it like, 3 times. Well, I can only do it 3 times. I better go back until I can do it at least 4 times. And then I do that. So by doing it that way and just like really pushing, yeah, man, I started getting some definition. Well, I didn't have definition before, Mike. I was round. That was my definition. So I started getting bumps, so.
In shape, in a shape, a round shape.
Right. So yeah, I started getting definition in places that I didn't think that I could. I sent posts because, at the first time, my coach was Jeff Hain, and super cool dude. I understand he's on his own now, so, wish him the best. But, he was a great coach also, very much the same type that, Corey is. They seem to, I guess it's kind of like the blueprint from Legion. They're both very similar. I remember I sent him a photo probably like 2 months in. I was like, hey, look, I got a baby trap starting, and then by the end of it, I actually had, something to kind of brag about. So by the end of it, I had, something to kind of brag about. Yeah, I definitely noticed my strength went up, way more than it was when I was just doing it on my own. So there's definitely something to that rep range, what was it, the progressive overload, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the key. That is the biggest training lever that we have to pull for just getting results, for gaining muscle, for gaining strength, and everything else is really downstream of that. That's the ultimate goal, is progressive overload, and there are different ways to get there. And some of them are more complicated than others. Some of them are more difficult than others. Some of them are more related to, or let's say more relevant to, experienced weightlifters. The great thing about being new to a lot of this is you really can just stick with the fundamentals, stick with simple programming principles, simple principles of progression, and get to, I think it's fair to say that you can get to probably around 80% of your genetic potential just doing that. Maybe once you cross, let's say, the 50% threshold, so you've been training for a couple of years now, you could make a few tweaks to the fundamentals, to the simple stuff you've been doing for the first couple of years, to make the next couple of years a little bit more productive. But it's not a radical overhaul. You're not making any major changes, and you only need to make some larger changes when you're experienced, you have several years of consistent training behind you, and you're trying to push for that last 20% of what you have genetically available. And even then, the biggest change that you have to make really is you just have to work harder. You're just going to have to spend more time in the gym, and you're just going to have to do more sets per week. And you probably are going to have to get to a point where you're specializing in certain muscle groups, because it just takes too much work. Like if you have to do 20 hard sets per week for a muscle group to grow, you can't do that for your whole body unless maybe you're like 20 years old. So you're physiologically invincible and you have no other stress in your life. So you can just abuse yourself in the gym and you sleep great and et cetera, et cetera. Then maybe, and you have the time and the inclination to be in the gym like 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. But if that's not the case, then as you get, again, toward the end of what you have genetically available to you, you would say, okay, for 3 or 4 months, I'm going to do a lot of back volume, and then I'm going to be doing less volume. I'm going to be doing maintenance volume for these other muscle groups because I only have so much time that I want to give to this, and blah, blah, blah. And then you might, for the next 4 months, go, okay, I'm happy with the progress that I saw on my back. I'm a little bit stronger. I've gained a little bit of muscle. Now, the next 4 months are going to be arms. We're going to be doing a lot of arms and maybe a lot of shoulders. And again, we're going to be doing maintenance volume for the rest. But anyway, I digress. I have another question. So what was or what were the key factors that explain the results that you got once you signed up for coaching versus what you were doing previously? So you had read the book, you understood at least the basics of proper diet and of proper weightlifting. And you had started on the year one challenge, which for people listening, if you know what that is, it's a workout journal that goes with Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. So the idea was simply, I published it years ago, was to just give people a year's worth of bigger, leaner, stronger workouts that I laid out that they can make modifications to based on what they learned in the book, or they can just do what's in the journal and get through basically everything that they've learned in the book, work through all the recommended exercises, work through them in a sequence that makes sense, that takes them from what I'm assuming is that they're relatively new to weightlifting, to then helping them become more experienced. And so that's the year one challenge. So anyway, Shaun, yeah, I'm curious, now that you have accomplished that, when you look back, what were the big factors that explain the results that you started to get in the coaching versus going solo?
I think the big thing that helped me was, well, first of all, consistency. I think I was either 4 or 5 days a week the first time around, and the consistency. You just like, I have a lot of friends and family or whatever that have seen, the change, and they're like, "Hey, what happened? How'd you do it?" And you almost see their face drop when you say, there is no magic pill to this. There's nothing magic. I literally ate less. I moved more, and I worked out 4 or 5 days a week. I did 10,000 steps a day or close to. I tried to make sure my sleep was right. I tried to make sure I drank plenty of water. none of this stuff is what anybody wants to hear. You want to hear that you can, take this or do that and still eat your ice cream and,
or it needs to be something weird and exotic, just some strange new snake diet or something, or
right, yeah. But no, it was consistency. It was for me. It was having somebody to be accountable to. My wife is easily talked into, let's get a pizza. Okay, I'm on a diet. You're supposed to kind of push back. Oh, okay. So let's try it again. Let's get a pizza. Okay. So both my coaches then and now, will call me out like, hey man, your steps are getting a little bit low. We need to pick that up. Or hey, I see that your rep range was this, did something happen? Is something going on? You're tired, you just not feeling it. So just being like, sometimes like, I just don't want to hear, and I would tell Coach Jeff this in the first time. I was like, I just didn't want to hear you bitch. So I just got up and I just wandered around my hallway for half an hour until I hit that tick. I got that it ticked over to 10,000 because and I tell, Coach Corey this time around too, I'm like, dude, I want you to call me out. Don't be a dick about it, but I want you to call me out, so if I'm not doing something or whatever, you got free reign to just be like, what's going on? Nothing really going on, then do it. So for me, it was consistency and having somebody checking over my food logs, checking over my reps and my steps, and just being like, all right, you're doing good, but you need to do this, or let's keep this going, or whatever. So it was somebody that knew what I needed to do, and then that was holding me accountable. That was the biggest thing.
If you like what I'm doing here on the podcast and elsewhere, then you will probably like my award-winning fitness books for men and women of all ages and abilities, which have sold over 2 million copies, have received over 15,000 4- and 5-star reviews on Amazon, and which have helped tens of thousands of people build their best body ever. Now, a caveat, my books and programs cannot give you a lean and toned Hollywood body in 30 days, and they are not full of dubious diet and exercise hacks and shortcuts for gaining lean muscle and melting belly fat faster than a sneeze in a cyclone. But they will show you exactly how to eat and exercise to lose up to 35 pounds of fat or more if you need to lose more or want to lose more, and gain eye-catching amounts of muscle definition and strength. And even better, you will learn how to do those things without having to live in the gym, give up all of the foods or drinks that you love, or do long, grueling workouts that you hate. And with my books and programs, you will do that. You will transform your physique faster than you probably think is possible, or I will give you your money back. If you are unsatisfied with any of my books or programs, the results, anything for whatever reason, just let me know and you will get a full refund on the spot. Now, I do have several books and programs, including Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, Thinner, Leaner, Stronger, and Muscle for Life. And to help you understand which one is right for you, it's pretty simple. If you are a guy aged 18 to, let's say, 40 to 45, Bigger, Leaner, Stronger is the book and program for you. If you are a gal, same age range, Thinner, Leaner, Stronger is going to be for you. And if you are a guy or gal, 40 to maybe 45 plus, Muscle for Life is for you. Can we talk about your diet? How did you set that up? Did you build out a meal plan? And did you make adjustments along the way? Were there any specific modifications that you wanted that were different than maybe the kind of just textbook approach, that the one size fits all? That, for example, in my books, I did my best to try to give a flexible one size fits all approach, but inevitably people will find their way of going about it while still respecting the non-negotiables, so to speak. Like, yeah, you can't do anything about energy balance, and you can't do anything about needing to eat enough protein and a few of these things, but you can do a lot about a lot of the other things.
Yeah, with when I first signed up, I got 2 different meal plans from Legion. Very well done. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 snacks, and I went rogue on that pretty quick. All I really needed was, what are my calories? What are my macros? I will build it from there, because I was very familiar with, cooking and being in the kitchen. I worked in restaurants for a long time. So I tried it at first, probably the first 2 weeks, and I just got bored with that. So I just said, okay, I need to, because when I was doing it, I was at 1,800 calories, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you can do a lot with that if you do it with the right stuff. So I used the meal plan as kind of like a blueprint at first, and I built off of that. I was like, well, maybe I'll swap this out for that, and then we used MyFitnessPal, which was really great because you can easily see at the bottom, macros, your protein, fat, your carbs. Like, okay, well, everything's good, a little fast, a little high. So I can go up and look and just see. I say, okay, well, here's where I could probably adjust this down to like maybe 0.25 cup, and then there you go, I'm in. Where I need to be. So I pretty much ate the same thing. I really started eating chicken fajitas for dinner just because I just really liked it, and it was just like grilled chicken breast, one onion, one green pepper, and a low carb wheat tortilla, a couple of those, and some salsa or whatever, which is like 5 to 10 calories, if that. Some hot sauce is like 0 to 5 calories, but it gives a
Yeah, I was going to say the sauces are great because you can always have your base, but by switching sauces, that often can extend the lifespan of that meal.
Yeah. So for breakfast, I like to do this oats overnight oats or whatever. It's a protein one.
I did the same thing for a while. It can be delicious.
Yeah. So I usually for breakfast, I have a cup of oats overnight and a Legion protein bar. Like I just went from the peanut butter and jelly ones, which are excellent, but I wanted to see what the chocolate peanut butter one was. And based off your recommendations, I'm going to have to throw it in the microwave for a minute, or not a minute, but a couple seconds. And
yeah, probably 15 to 30 seconds. For anybody listening, if you are currently eating Legion's protein bars and you have not tried microwaving them first, you got to try it. I think it makes them even better.
Yeah, I was talking to my coach about it, and because he likes the peanut butter and jelly one, and I was telling him about this one. I was like, man, it tastes just like a chocolate chip cookie.
Although again, are you cutting still? Because we were joking about Halo Top. So then that's the caveat, right? That's the asterisk. He is currently in a deficit, so which means that Halo Top actually tastes good to him right now. So you may not think that our protein bars taste like cookies per se, but I do think that objectively they taste pretty good considering they also have good ingredients.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, he's got me right now at 2,000 calories, which isn't too bad, honestly. Going from 1,800 to 2,000 calories, that 200 jump is actually quite a bit of food for me.
Well, especially when you consider how much less you weigh. And for people listening, if you're wondering why that might be, like, wouldn't his calories be higher if he was heavier? Even if you were just to go with something like 10 calories per pound of body weight per day, which is generally a good rule of thumb for cutting. That's probably what most people are going to be, somewhere around there. Shaun, you obviously know this because you did it, but for anybody listening who doesn't know this, when you have a lot of body fat to lose, you actually can afford to run a larger calorie deficit, because especially when you are eating enough protein and you're lifting weights, and especially when you're new to lifting weights, you are not only not going to lose muscle, you are going to gain muscle, even though you're in a considerable calorie deficit. You might be in a deficit as large as, on average, it could be 1,000 calories per day, but because you have a lot of body fat to lose, that isn't going to negatively impact your body composition or your health in any way. Now, of course, you can take that too far, but what you did, Shaun, is not taking it too far. However, once you are leaner and once you have a bit more muscle because you've been training now for a bit, you can't afford to run that large calorie deficit anymore. Now your deficit has to come down, maybe to the range of anywhere from probably 250 to 500 per day, depending on various things. But anyway, for people listening who just might be wondering, well, wait a minute, how did he start at like 270 with an 1,800 calorie diet? And now, many scores of pounds later, he's at 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then for lunch, right now I'm just kind of doing like a protein shake. I doctor up a little bit, maybe a little almond milk, fat-free milk, couple scoops of, I'm doing the Legion Dutch chocolate. if I need a little kick or something, I'll put like a cup of coffee in there too. And it could be the cut talking, but it kind of tastes like a frappe or something. If you can swing it, a little scoop of peanut butter in there too, a couple ice cubes, blend it up, gives it that texture. So it usually comes up to like 500 calories, but I think that's good because there's a lot of protein and it's, that's my lunch. I'm not doing anything else. And then dinner is, like a fajita or something, which is probably about 600 calories, 700. And then I'll end it with like a casein, a Legion casein protein to get me through the night. That's how the meal is, right? It's not super exciting, but it's getting me the results I need right now. And also to something that my coaches always say to me is this isn't forever.
So on the meal plan, I'm curious because you had the 2 meal plans that we provided to you, and those lasted a couple of weeks, and you made some modifications. But it sounds like then you found some meals that you were okay with eating. It sounds like that you've been eating more or less like this for some period of time. Is that the case?
Yeah, for the most part, I just kind of like swapped out like ground beef with ground turkey. Instead of like chicken thigh, chicken legs with chicken breast, things like that. Ground chicken. So I for the most part eat whatever I used to. I just made smarter choices. Like if I want a sloppy Joe, I do it with ground turkey. And then a wheat bun, and opposed to 80-20 ground beef and just a big potato bun and more vegetables. So that's what I do. I do more vegetables and more fruit with my dinners instead of like fried potatoes or French fries, things like that. I don't deep fry anything. I bake it. And so it's just overall smarter decisions. A lot of it is still the same type of thing. It's just smarter ingredients, better ingredients.
And that's a good point, that it is a lot of the same types of foods that you eat. You're just being smarter about how you prepare them, how you combine them, and so forth.
Right. Like if I want a pizza, maybe I use a cauliflower crust pizza. If it's done right, it might be the cut talking. It doesn't taste that different.
It's passable. Normally, it's into the trash, and you order real pizza. But
that's what I thought the first time I tried it. But I tried it again, and I all right. So I'm not even joking about this. For like my lunch or whatever, I had a Halo and a cauliflower pizza yesterday, and I was like, "This is the greatest shit ever." So I think I texted, my coach. I'm like, I'm definitely in a cut because I'm eating a cauliflower pizza and Halo ice cream, and it doesn't get any better than this. And he's like, like, welcome, you're there, or something like that is what he texted back.
Yeah, it's like a rite of passage. And what about off-plan eating, treat meals, cheat meals, whatever various people call them? But the idea is, okay, you're going to go to a restaurant, or you're going to eat something that's off-plan because you want to.
Yeah, I do that once a week. Some people do it once a month. Some people don't do it at all. I do it once a week because, for one, this is a marathon for me. It's not like I got like a bodybuilding show coming up in 6 weeks. I don't have nothing. So I'm just trying. If I start craving something or whatever, I'm like, I'll do it Friday. Anytime that I start having like bad food thoughts, I was like, well, let me see how I can work it in on Friday. And it's not an entire day. I don't do a cheat day. I do a cheat meal, and I go by, the rules that I was given whenever I joined the program, 150% your daily calories stay below 100 grams of fat. All right. So that's what I'll do. So I got plenty of time to plan because I know me and my wife, we do like date night on Fridays. So, we kind of just figure out what do you want, and then if we can download the menu first, and then I'll just start looking through like, okay, at like 2,000 calories, I can go up to like 3,000 calories, but that's a lot for me. And especially if I don't, eat anything else throughout the day, like on those days, I want to kind of save everything for that. So I might have a protein shake and a protein bar in the morning, and then I'll just save everything for that. And that might not be the best way to do it, but the way I see it is one day a week.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a good. I mean, yeah, if you were doing that 5 days a week, I would suggest that you make a change. But if you're doing it one day a week, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I do, I just do it one day a week, and my scales numbers are still going down. I don't weigh the next day after, just because there's probably a lot of sodium, and it could be water weight. I don't need that in my head. So, and then I just pick it back up on Sunday and just get back at it, and then it's just one day a week, one meal.
And do you find that you look forward to that meal? That it almost is like a kind of like a psychological reset for the next week,
Yep, definitely. Because like you got people who love, to work out and things like that. I'm not one of those people, Mike. I love sitting down eating ice cream and pizza and watching TV. That's my thing. You going to the gym, that's not my thing. But I do it because it does make me feel better. Like for example, my coach told me he needed me to do, an hour of cardio per week. So when we first started, he seen that I logged 30 minutes on the rowing machine on Monday. And he's like, hey man, that's really good. I'm like, dude, I did it because I hate it. That's why I did it. I did it because I hate it. Anything I hate this much has got to be good for me. So, I look forward to the cheat day. And, I feel like crap after I eat, kind of like if you drink too much the next day. It's kind of like a food hangover. But, I don't know. I look forward to it.
Yeah, and over time, what'll probably happen is you might keep the habit in, but at least what I've seen in many people, it tends to scale down a bit. Where then instead of going for the full 2 or 3,000 calories, it's 1,000 calories, or it's maybe 1,500, and maybe it's not as much fatty fried type food. And anyway, but it doesn't really matter. Even if it stays exactly as it is now, it's not going to be negatively impacting your body composition or your health.
Yeah. The last one that I did this last Friday, my calories for the day was, I think, 2,500. So I only went up 500 calories for out 500 calories extra that day. And I was happy with it. I was satisfied with it. I'm not like, okay, I got 150 more percent extra calories this day. Let me see, let me maximize this. I can add a cookie here. I can add, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, all right, she wants to go here, or I want to go there. Let me look at the menu. Okay, that fits within my parameters, and I'm not going to be like strict. If it's like 100 calories or whatever, I'm not, whatever. It's one day. And my coach was, super cool about that too, because he said pretty much, what we're talking about is like, look, man, it's just one day. Don't go like crazy, but just enjoy yourself. It's just one day. So, I mean, he even made it out like I don't really have to like track it down to the number if I didn't need to, but I'm going to though.
Especially if you are mostly eating protein leading up to it, which is also something that if I'm going to use this little technique, that's what I like. Because if I'm going to go out to a restaurant, it's probably going to be carbs and fat. That's probably what I'm going to want to eat. I'm probably, unless it's a steakhouse or something, I'm probably not going to order a steak, or I'm not going to want to feel like, well, I need 50 grams of protein, so I got to find that somewhere. And so again, if you're mostly just eating your protein, so you're done with your protein for the day, and then at dinner you're just going to enjoy some carbs and fat, then it's hard to mess that up. Because again, like you said, after you eat, even after you eat 1,000, 1,500 calories, especially if you're taking your time, if it's an appetizer or two, and then a little bit later it's the entree, you're already going to be probably full and relatively done eating anyway. And so it's actually difficult for most people at most types of restaurants to go much beyond that anyway. Where you just feel like you're force feeding yourself, or you're eating something, you're not hungry at all. Maybe it's just good, and that. Like, I'm not hungry at all. I'm just continuing to eat.
Yeah. I'm to the point now where when I'm full, I just stop. Where before I would just keep eating just because it's delicious, it's in front of me, I paid for it. I'm just gonna keep eating. But now I'm not in that mindset anymore. I'm full, I'm done. That's something that kind of came with time. I guess I kind of had to retrain myself a little bit to recognize that I'm full. Where before is I didn't necessarily feel full anymore. I was almost 300 pounds, so something wasn't registering for me.
Yeah, there can be a disconnect between physiological hunger and psychological or emotional desire to eat, where you're not physically hungry, but you just want to eat, or you want to keep eating. And for people listening, an easy way to check yourself is, if you have the desire to eat, if you were to imagine a bowl of boiled beans in front of you, if you would eat the beans, maybe you get to salt them, maybe, but if you would eat them, it's probably physical hunger. If you would not eat them, it's probably not physical hunger. It's probably psychological or emotional desire to eat, which might be stress related. It might be boredom related. Just sitting around too much is an easy way to eat too much as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because everything we did, like you're having a bad day, go get this. You're having a good day, let's celebrate with this. Everything was rewarding or comfort or whatever with food. That's how I grew up. So, in my adulthood, it just kept on going, and it just got to a bad spot.
Let's talk about training and how that was set up. What your resistance training looked like, what your cardio looked like, and if there were any obstacles that you had to overcome, any changes that you had to make to be able to get the results that you got.
Well, my training was a lot of free weight. Like I said, this is around the time of the pandemic, and so everything was closed. I'm in Chicago, so everything was closed down here. So I found some guy who was selling like a bench press with like 300 pounds of weights. So I got that. I got a power rack so that I could do squats, and I have a Peloton for cardio and a rowing machine also for cardio. And that's what I would do. It was just Mondays was focused around like bench pressing, incline. Then I would do some dumbbell stuff, single arm incline dumbbell, single arm dumbbell, and then incline single arm. Just various free weights, things like that. I would, probably do maybe 20 minutes on the Peloton, to get some cardio in. And that's what I do. I do that 4 days a week, or I would lift 4 days a week. I wasn't the same workout, obviously. Then the next day would be worked around like the deadlift and, different pulling exercises, triceps, things like that. Then we'd have a leg day. And yeah, I mean, it would just stay consistent. And then around 5 months in, something popped in my elbow.
During which exercise?
It was actually during an incline. So I was doing pretty close to my max because it was, progressing pretty good. And I was pushing really hard, and something just popped in it, and it just never got better. So we had to just really make some changes. So I went from being able to do dumbbell curl to where I could only do hammer style curl, and I had to drop it because anything with palm up or palm in, I couldn't do it anymore. So we just, had to work around that, really focus on the diet and steps, different exercises. And it eventually led to where I actually had to have surgery. And they had to remove the tendon, clean the area, and then stitch it back. And I'm just now, 2 years later, able to start lifting again.
Wow. And what was the nature of the injury? Now that you know specifically.
All I know is he said that he had to remove the diseased tendon and then clean the area because he had to detach it from my elbow. And then, reattach, cut some of it off that was, I guess, is really, really tore up, and then reattach it. And I was in a cast for a couple of weeks and physical therapy for 3 months. And yeah, it was just a really horribly bad tendonitis, I think.
I see. Yeah. So there was already tendon damage or dysfunction that can only take so much stress.
Yeah, and finally just had it. And, so after that happened, I just had to really dial back what I was doing, really focus on my diet and my steps. And I could still do legs, and various different exercises. I could still do, lighter, but it just started getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And then I had to have the surgery. And at that point, I was pretty much just doing like a diet break / maintenance and, just let myself heal. Everything's good now. I just got done with physical therapy about a month ago, and my weights are starting to go back up again.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're better and you're able to get back to it. I don't know if you did this, but for people listening, it might be helpful to know that when you have one limb that is injured, maintenance calories is a good idea. And especially when you're trying to recover from like a surgery, eating enough protein, of course, good idea. But something that many people don't know is it's referred to as the crossover effect. And there's research on this, that if you train your non-injured limb, it will help you retain muscle and strength in your injured limb, which sounds mystical and woo-woo and sounds like bro science, but it's not. It's actually a studied phenomenon. So if anybody listening, if you find yourself with a limb that is untrainable for a bit, train the other limb. And in the case of, you had mentioned you were doing one arm dumbbell pressing, you can do that. You can do a lot of different one arm or just one limb unilateral exercises, particularly with dumbbells and kettlebells, that will help you maintain your routine. It'll help you, of course, keep your your mood up and help you retain your sanity, not having to take many months off of the gym altogether. And it will ultimately help you regain the muscle and strength. You are going to lose muscle and strength in your injured limb, but you're going to lose less if you just keep training the healthy limb. And so then when you can train the injured limb again, you will get back to where you were faster.
Yeah, yeah. In physical therapy too, we did a lot of stuff with bands and resistance bands, and they actually like that a lot too. It's kind of like a different burn for some reason.
Yeah. And so with your training before you had gotten injured, were there any changes that you had to make, or were you really were just because you have a very simple setup and you're just doing your basic barbell training, and that got you all the way from 270 to, I think you said, what, 190 or so?
Yeah, 191. It was very basic. That's kind of what I gathered from your books too.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I just want to impress that point on people listening that with such a simple setup, what you were able to do.
That's what impressed me. And I kind of thought, yeah, all right, whatever, Mike. I'm reading your book and it was like, just do this, this, and this. I'm like, yeah, okay, Mike. So I was like, whatever, I got nothing else going on. So, and that's it. Because in the gym, I never went over to the free weight area. That's where the real bodybuilders were. I was like, I don't know, in business being over there, those big old dudes, because, all right, here's the deal, Mike. I'm 40 years old, 5'7", 270 pounds. You don't see guys that look like me wandering around over there. You don't see guys that look like me on the cover of Men's Health, So it's like, none of this actually works, I'm bald, right? So if you see commercials of, people trying to sell like razors for shaving your head, they're already clean shaven in the commercial. You see people on the cover of these fitness magazines telling you how to lose weight. They're already got a six pack and a rip. Show somebody that looks like me, some fat bald guy, and then let's see something like that. You don't see that. So I'm reading your book as like, do this, this, and this. Like, okay, Mike, I'll do that. And I want to look like you, because I've seen your pictures, Mike, so I'm like, yeah, whatever. But I was like, I got nothing else going on though. There's a pandemic, whatever, let's do it. So I just gave it a shot. Well, what do you know? It worked.
Because of COVID, so it was over this course of 6 months or so, there's a radical change in your body composition. I'm assuming there are some people in your life who didn't see you so the last time they saw you, you were 270. Now you're 190. Did that happen?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't under the best circumstances. My stepfather passed away, so some of us got together for the funeral, and they noticed, and it was like, whoa, it was my cousin. She said, "Whoa, Shaun really buffed up." I was like, I appreciate that, but But no, I mean, yeah, some people did notice it, and that's when you just have that conversation with them. There's like, what happened? Well, I'm trying to lose weight and doing this and doing that. And I'm like, well, this is what I did. And they're like, oh, so you lifted weights and did steps and ate healthy. That's not what I wanted to hear. Kind of like what we talked about earlier. It's like, that's it, man.
But minimally, you might have planted a seed. Maybe that's not what they want to hear right now, but who knows? Maybe a year from now, after trying 5 more fad diets, they're going to remember that conversation and they're going to accept that maybe that is what it takes. Maybe I have to look in the place that I least want to look. Maybe that's how this works.
Yeah, for sure. I hope it did. I hope it planted a seed, because as much as I don't like going to the gym, as much as I don't like eating healthy, I would do it over again because I feel great. I feel so much better than I did. I had sleep apnea. I had high blood pressure. I just had a blood test not like 2 weeks ago. Everything's perfect. My doctor was like, your blood pressure's never been this good. Everything is perfect. And that's not been that way for like 10 years for me. I mean, well, I take that back. The last like 2 years consecutively, they've been perfect ever since I dropped the weight. And, since then, my blood test has been perfect. And I do it every 6 months.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, really, one of the simplest ways to improve basically every meaningful aspect of our health is to lose fat and gain muscle. And yeah, you can take those things to an extreme and it can become unhealthy, but it's difficult actually to take that to an extreme. And in the case of gaining muscle, it would almost always involve the use of anabolic steroids. You're not going to gain too much muscle naturally. Maybe you can overtrain yourself trying to gain too much muscle naturally 7 days a week, 2 hours a day or something, but you're never going to actually gain too much muscle naturally, and losing too much fat naturally without the use of various types of cutting drugs is also difficult. You can do it, but you're going to suffer extremely. And so practically speaking, for most everyone, that's just a rule that if you gain a little bit more muscle and if you lose a little bit more fat, you are just going to be healthier.
Yeah, for sure. I feel way better than I did. And it's really not that hard. I would just like to put that out there to anybody who, maybe was where I was at when I started. It's really not that hard to, once you get going. It's a momentum that just goes, and then you start looking forward to it. And the hardest part is just showing up. And that's such a cliche to say, but it really is. Just show up, just go to the gym, just take 2 or 3 steps inside the gym. If you don't want to go home, just go home. But once you get there, you'll be like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go over here and do this, or maybe I'll just go and do that. And then next thing you know, you've done a workout, and you don't got to go there and do like 45 minutes to 3 hours. A lot of these workouts, I'm done in like half an hour, so unless it's like a cardio day on top of it, but it doesn't take all day. And one of the things that I did was new to me was the 2 to 3 minute in between reps. That was something that I did not do before. And my rep speed, I was too fast. So I think that might have contributed to my elbow injury, because I didn't rest, and I was like, like a bench press. It was just like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then it was my coach that was like, hey man, you got to slow this down. You got to do it like each rep is its own set. I mean, just little things like that, just get your form right and just show up. That's pretty much, and then to take care of itself.
Yeah, it's very true. Something I've said many times is you just make an agreement with yourself that, like you said, you can leave, but you got to show up to the gym. And I've said 10 minutes. I've said, you got to show up. You got to do something. You got to do something for 10 minutes. And then if 10 minutes, you've done 10 minutes of your workout, maybe your workout's supposed to be 30 minutes or even 60 minutes, and you've done 10 minutes and you want to leave, then you can give yourself the permission to leave. But you got to show up and you got to do your 10 minutes and watch how many workouts get done this way.
Yeah. And also too, I would like to circle back around too, when I said that like those big scary guys over in the free weight area could not be nicer than, people that I've seen in the entire place. They're eager to help me out, or, hey man, can I get a spot? I don't know if I could do that. I got 25s on here, I'm doing 95 pounds for my, first starting this thing out, and I kind of embarrassed because this guy's got like 800 pounds on the bar or something. I got like these little itty bitty plates. I'm like, hey man, I don't even know if I can do this. Like, oh yeah, man, I got you. And then like trying to pump you up, and I was like, man, these guys could not be nicer. So yeah, so don't be afraid to stroll on over to the free weight area too, because for the most part, they love seeing somebody just trying to better themselves. So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that's absolutely the rule. And it's actually, in my experience, it's hard to find exceptions to that. They're out there. Some guys are just dickheads, but I'd have to really think about it to even be able to come up with some examples over all these years where, sure, I can think of some dickheads, but I don't know if I've actually ever seen somebody who's big and strong or in great shape treat somebody who's not badly, who's just in there working out. Maybe it's happened and I just haven't seen it. I can't think of a single instance of that occurring, unless maybe somebody was doing something that's unacceptable. But as far as exactly what you're saying, going over there, asking for a spot, even asking some advice, like ask their thoughts on a machine or on an exercise or a form or whatever. Generally speaking, people in gyms are very supportive. It's kind of almost the opposite of the stereotype that's sometimes promoted in the media that it's such a toxic environment. And no, it's almost always the opposite of that.
Yeah, I find that they are more amped. If you're amped, they're amped. They're stoked that you're stoked to do this, because they're passionate about it. And then they want to give their knowledge about it. Someone probably gave their knowledge to them about it, So yeah, it's almost kind of like a brotherhood, when you get over there and you just see how people are just helping each other out. So yeah, it's really cool.
And a lot of people have been out of shape themselves too, even them that might not be now, but they once were. So they really understand, they have empathy too. They were there and they enjoy seeing somebody else making improvements because they really know firsthand what that means. Well, this was a great discussion, Shaun, and we've covered the big bullet points that I wanted to get through. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up? Anything I should have asked or?
Yeah, you know what? It's just come to me because I got a little notepad over here with little notes and stuff too. I just want to let people know if you do the Legion Pulse, the tingling is normal. I thought I was having a stroke, Mike. I had to pull over and Google it.
I would hope that I'm actually going to make a note. I would hope that that's in the FAQ. Not that people read FAQs, but at least Pulse Tingles FAQ, because yes, it's beta alanine, and actually it's a good sign in that it indicates that it's high quality beta alanine, because there are low quality beta alanine materials out there that are a lot cheaper than what I use, but you would get no tingles from them because they don't work.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. So
yeah, again, thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
How would you like to know a little secret that will help you get into the best shape of your life? Here it is. The business model for my VIP coaching service sucks. Boom, mic drop. And what in the fiddly frack am I talking about? Well, while most coaching businesses try to keep their clients around for as long as possible, I take a different approach. You see, my team and I, we don't just help you build your best body ever. I mean, we do that. We figure out your calories and macros, and we create custom diet and training plans based on your goals and your circumstances, and we make adjustments depending on how your body responds. And we help you ingrain the right eating and exercise habits so you can develop a healthy and a sustainable relationship with food and training and more. But then there's the kicker, because once you are thrilled with your results, we ask you to fire us. Seriously, you've heard the phrase, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach him to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Well, that summarizes how my one-on-one coaching service works. And that's why it doesn't make nearly as much coin as it could, but I'm okay with that because my mission is not to just help you gain muscle and lose fat. It's to give you the tools and to give you the know-how that you need to forge ahead in your fitness without me. So dig this, when you sign up for my coaching, we don't just take you by the hand and walk you through the entire process of building a body you can be proud of. We also teach you the all-important whys behind the hows, the key principles, and the key techniques you need to understand to become your own coach. And the best part, it only takes 90 days. So instead of going it alone this year, why not try something different? Head over to muscleforlife.show/VIP. That is muscleforlife.show/VIP, and schedule your free consultation call now. And let's see if my one-on-one coaching service is right for you. Well, I hope you liked this episode. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, subscribe to the show because it makes sure that you don't miss new episodes. And it also helps me because it increases the rankings of the show a little bit, which of course then makes it a little bit more easily found by other people who may like it just as much as you. And if you didn't like something about this episode or about the show in general, or if you have ideas or suggestions or just feedback to share, shoot me an email, mike@muscleforlife.com, muscleforlife.com, and let me know what I could do better or just what your thoughts are about maybe what you'd like to see me do in the future. I read everything myself. I'm always looking for new ideas and constructive feedback. So thanks again for listening to this episode, and I hope to hear from you soon.